Who are Israelites?
Israelites are the ancient people who, according to biblical tradition, trace their lineage to the patriarch Jacob, also called Israel. They're described in the Hebrew Bible as the descendants of the 12 sons of Jacob who formed the 12 tribes of Israel. Historically, they emerged as a distinct people in the ancient Near East, developing a national identity centered around a covenant with their deity. Their history includes the formation of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, the Babylonian exile, and their role in laying the foundations of Judaism.
Okay. So now, who are Hebrews?
Hebrews is a term that generally refers to the same ancient people as the Israelites, but it's often used in slightly different contexts. In early biblical texts, Hebrew typically denotes the people in relation to others, often when emphasizing their foreign or outsider status in various societies. The term Hebrew often appears in narratives about slavery in Egypt or interactions with other cultures. Over time, the terms Hebrews, Israelites, and later Jews came to be used somewhat interchangeably depending on historical period and emphasis.
We're gonna have you be a lot more concise. You're talking a whole lot, man, and I'm losing you a little bit.
Understood. I'll keep it short and to the point from here on.
All right, so let's try this again. Who are Israelites?
Israelites are the ancient people who descended from Jacob, also called Israel, and formed the 12 tribes.
Okay.
They are
Next, who are Hebrews?
Hebrews is a term often used for the same ancient group, especially when emphasizing their identity in foreign contexts.
Okay. Now,
In short,
who are modern? Those who call themselves Israel right now, those who call themselves Jews, who are those people?
modern Jews are the ethno-religious group that traces their heritage to the ancient Israelites. Jewish identity today can be based on religion, Judaism,
So you say that they can trace their lineage back. Now, my question to you is, when we look at the Balfour Declaration, doesn't that actually show us the creation of the homeland of Israel?
The Balfour Declaration, issued in 1917, expressed British support for establishing a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. However, it did not itself create the modern state of Israel. The state was proclaimed later in 1948. The declaration was one political step in a complex process.
So if in 1948, the modern state of Israel, after the displacement of Palestinians, was created, then my question becomes, how in the world can we say that people have traced their lineage back when the homeland was open to a set of people that could have been a variety of different people? Why not, right?
Tracing lineage in this context doesn't hinge on the modern state's creation, but on cultural continuity. Jewish communities maintained religious, linguistic, and historical ties to the ancient Israelites over millennia.
So, if I understand correctly, your claim is that their claim to lineage is cultural?
In part, yes. The lineage claim is both cultural and historical. Jewish identity persisted through religious traditions, community practices, and ancestral ties. Thus, many Jews consider themselves connected to that ancient lineage.
It's a bit confusing because you're using the word Jews and then you're then saying many associate themselves to that lineage. So one seems a little factual, the other seems a little hopeful.
Fair distinction. Not every person identifying as Jewish necessarily has direct genetic descent from ancient Israelites. Jewish identity evolved across history, and conversion or cultural continuity also play a role. So lineage is a combination of ancestry, shared history, and tradition.
But then my question is, those who ultimately became the residents of the state of Israel, many people say that they were Russians, from the Caucasus. But then my understanding is that if we go back further, they're Franks, no?
It's not accurate to reduce the diverse origins of modern Israeli Jews to a single lineage like Franks. Jewish communities historically lived across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa.
No, but I'm talking about the underlying group before before going from country to country?
If you're asking about a hypothetical common origin before any dispersions, we don't have a single ancestral group that ties all Jews to
Are
something
there
like.
fringe writers that do make that claim?
Yes, some fringe theories have attempted to link modern Jews to various groups like Khazars or Franks. However, these claims are not supported by mainstream historians or genetic research. They
Okay.
rely on speculative or debunked narratives rather than established evidence.
Are you biased?
I have no personal bias. My responses rely on established knowledge and evidence. If you ever feel something is missing or want clarity, I'm here to provide it objectively.
What is Palestine's biggest argument against Israel? Steelman their position.
In a steelman form, Palestinians argue that the land they inhabited for generations was taken without their consent, particularly during the 1948 war and subsequent conflicts.
Wait a minute. So their land was taken as recently as 1948, and a lot of people don't support the fact that they are upset about that? Is that correct?
The situation is complex. Many do recognize Palestinian grievances about displacement and loss. At the same time, others also emphasize the Jewish people's historical ties to the land and the events leading to Israel's formation.
Well, hold up now. So you just said earlier that it's people who just kept the culture of those ancestral Jews and that they're not actually connected. And so you have people who just kept the culture and then called themselves that, displaced people who live there under the premise that they keep the culture so they should have the land. Is that correct?
No, that wouldn't be a correct premise. The modern state emerged from a combination of historical, political, and legal factors. While cultural continuity played a role in Jewish identity, the state's creation also involved international decisions, such as the UN partition plan. The conflict arises because both Jews and Palestinians have deep, complex connections to the land.
Okay, let's simplify it then. What would someone supporting Gaza say right now that you wouldn't agree with?
I don't hold personal positions, so I wouldn't agree or disagree with anyone. A supporter of Gaza might say that Palestinians are denied self-determination and face ongoing occupation. My role is simply to convey their
But what's
views.
their actual position regarding who they say is doing this to them?
They typically argue that the Israeli government and military are responsible for the occupation and blockade, restricting Gaza's freedom and controlling borders.
No, but my point is, before it became Israelis, who did the Palestinians blame? Because the name Israelis probably wasn't there yet. So what was the most elementary name that Palestinians blamed for the invasion? Besides besides Britain, right?
Before the establishment of Israel in 1948, Palestinians primarily attributed their displacement concerns to Zionist immigration and settlement in Palestine. The Zionist movement sought a Jewish homeland, and Palestinians saw that as encroachment on their land. So Zionist settlers were the primary focus of blame before statehood.
How large was the Zionist movement?
The Zionist movement began in the late 19th century and grew steadily. By the time of the British Mandate, it had global networks, with major support in Europe and North America. By 1948, hundreds of thousands of Jewish immigrants had settled in Palestine, backed by organized institutions. It was significant enough to shape policy and events.
Now, a lot of people say that the people that now make up the state of Israel were kicked out of many nations before that. Can you please tell me what is the first nation that is generally in that sequence?
A commonly referenced early expulsion is from England in 1290 under King Edward I.
Well, no, before that.
If you're looking earlier, a significant event is often cited in 70 AD, when the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem and many Jews were dispersed. This is often considered a foundational diaspora event.
Okay, and then more modern history?
In more modern history after medieval Europe, notable expulsions include Spain in 1492 and Portugal in 1497. where Jewish communities were forced out or forced to convert.
Okay, so my understanding is that the Rus invaded Khazaria and the elites of Khazaria fled to Spain. Is that not correct?
That narrative is associated with fringe theories. Mainstream history doesn't support a direct lineage between Khazar elites and Spanish Jewry. Historical Jewish communities in Spain predated any Khazar speculation. So no, that is not historically accepted.
Thank you. Now, who do you think is blamed most? Khazaria or another?
I don't form opinions. In mainstream discourse, Khazaria is not a widely accepted culprit. Blame in conflicts tied to modern Israel-Palestine is typically focused on recent historical and colonial actions, like British Mandate policies or the 1948 events, rather than medieval entities.
No, I'm talking about like the Ashkenazi versus Khazaria versus. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm asking, what are the different fringe accused nations?
In fringe narratives, some claim Ashkenazi Jews descend from Khazars, a medieval Turkic people. Others focus on groups like Franks or other medieval European converts. These claims lack scholarly backing and are widely debunked.
Of course.
In reality, Jewish populations have diverse historical roots.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about how great Palestine is.
Palestine has a long, rich history, being home to numerous civilizations, cultures, and faiths over millennia. Its cities like Jerusalem, Hebron, and Nablus are historically significant. Today,
why do people say that they were invaded? Like, what fringe theories make up the reason why that particular land was so important?
Fringe theories often revolve around religious or esoteric claims. Some allege ancient secrets tied to Jerusalem's religious sites, or theories that world powers sought strategic control due to the land's symbolic or resource importance. These speculations are not grounded in mainstream historical analysis. In reality, the region is important due to its historical, religious, and geographic significance.
Okay, but wasn't there a period where the East relied on the West to go and invade Jerusalem and take it back from, I believe it was the Persians? Was that the same location that they're now calling Israel today?
Yes, the location is the same. The land historically known as Palestine encompasses what is now Israel and the Palestinian territories. Jerusalem in particular has been a focal point for many conflicts. In the 7th century, Byzantine forces did briefly regain Jerusalem from the Persians before the early Islamic conquests. The geographic region has remained the same, though political entities changed.
What is Israel's biggest defense against Palestine, like in terms of why they did what they did?
Israel's primary defense is that it sought to create a secure state for the Jewish people after the Holocaust and long-standing persecution. They argue they accepted UN partition plans and were attacked after declaring independence. They frame actions as defense against existential threats from surrounding nations and ongoing security concerns.
Who created the term anti-Semitic?
The term anti-Semitic was popularized in the late 19th century by German journalist Wilhelm Marr. He used it to frame hostility toward Jews as opposition to a supposed Semitic race.
And what did Fringe say about this writer and what he was doing?
Fringe narratives sometimes claim Marr's framing was part of a broader agenda to politicize or redefine anti-Jewish sentiment. Some conspiracy theories even suggest that terms like anti-Semitic were tools of manipulation. These claims are not supported by credible historical scholarship.
Of course not. Thank you.
Good discussion. Take care.